Assalamu alaikum, everyone. We're going to quickly go through the introduction of the topic binomial expansion. We need to know these concepts before we can start the past paper question on the same topic. Okay, so here's the formula for binomial expansion. Let's try to understand it using an example. So this would be question number one. Okay, let's do part A of this. The term is x 2 plus 3x to the power 4, and we need to expand this. So, okay, so let's start with part A. It is two plus 3x power 4. Okay, so we've studied a plus b whole square in O levels. Now, for any higher power than 2, cube, power 4, power 5, power 15, power 80, we will be applying the binomial theorem formula. Even it will work for a plus b whole square, but then that would make this very lengthy and very unnecessary since we've already memorized a formula for a plus b whole square. So anyway, for any power which is greater than 2, we'll be applying this formula. How does this formula work? The first term is a power n. That is the first term, which is 2, and the power on the bracket, which is 4. So 2 power 4 is the first term. Next term would be, this is read as NC1. N for us is 4. N is always the power given. So 4, and I'm going to write C, not those brackets. I'll tell you why in a bit. So 4C1, then the first term of the bracket, which is A, which is 2 for our case, and the power is n minus 1. That means 4 minus 1, which is 3. And then the next term, which is 3x in our case. And then the power is this value here, which is going to be 1. Plus, for the next term, it's NC2. So we're going to write 4C2 times the first term. Now we're following this. 2 power n minus 2, which is going to be 4 minus 2 in this case. So 4 minus 2, which is going to be 2. Then the second term, 3x, and this becomes its power 2. Then 4C3, and so on. Next term would be 4C3, 2 power, difference of 4 and 3 is 1. And then 3x power cube plus the last term is going to be 4C4. When these become the same, the upper value of C and the lower value of C, that's going to be your last term. 4C4, 2, power of 2 is the difference of 4 and 4, so that's 0. And then 3x power, the lower value, which is 4. Now let's find all these values through the calculator. Power 4 is 16. 16 plus, now in the calculator, I'm going to enter 4C1 times 2 cube times 3 power 1 or just 3. Okay, so how do you press 4C1 in the calculator? Look at the division key in your calculator. On top of that, in orange, it says NCR. You need this NCR. So you'll have to press shift and then that division key, and you'll see that it says C. But you don't need C right away. You first need 4, then you press that C, and then 1. So you have to enter 4 in your calculator first, then shift and division key so that it shows a C, and then 1 after that. Then you do times 2 cube times 3. and that's giving me 96 plus 96 x plus, now enter 4c2 in the calculator, 2 bracket square and 3 bracket squared. That's going to be 4c2 times 2 squared times 3 squared. That comes out to be 216. X squared. Similarly, you'll have to enter 4c3 times 2 times 3 cubed. And when you do that, that again gives you 216. So 216 x cubed. And lastly, you enter 4c4, 2 power 0. You may or may not write it since it's just 1. And then write 3 bracket power 4, which gives us 81 x power 4. And this is the expansion of the expression that we have. All right, part A is done. Now let's take a look at part D. I'm not doing B, C. I'm directly jumping to B. D is 1 minus 2y power 5. Now, just to be clear, A is 1. B is now a negative number. So you'll have to write bracket minus 2y everywhere. And N is 5. So now let's plug in the values here. So we need to expand it completely. So it's going to be, the first term is 1 power 5. That's A power N plus 5C1. A is 1. Power will be 4. And the second term is negative 2y. Remember that. And the power will be 5 minus 1, which is 4. Next term is going to be 5c2. First term is 1. Power is going to be 5 minus 2, 3. And minus 2y power 2 plus 5c3, 1 squared minus 2y cubed. And lastly, 5, no, not lastly, second lastly, if that's even a word, 5c4, 1 power, the difference of these two, which is 1, and then minus 2y power 4, and then plus 5c5, 1 power 0, minus 2y whole power 5. You could have ignored all the ones in this question because 1 power anything is still 1. So these could have been ignored. But even if you don't, that doesn't make any difference. All right. Now let's find each of these values by entering these very carefully in the calculator. The first term is just going to be 1. Yeah, the first term is going to be 1 plus, in your calculator, press 5c1 times minus 2 whole power 4. That's going to give you, sorry, it's not power 4, it's power 1. Why did I write 4 here? It's 1. It's always the lower power. Let me double check. The rest are correct. The first one was incorrect. Sorry about that. Okay, so it's going to be power 1. Okay, so minus 2 power 1. Okay, and that gives negative 10. And there's a y in the question as well, so negative 10y. Then for the next one, it's 5c2 minus 2 power whole square. That's going to give you a positive value. When you enter it in your calculator, you'll get plus 40. and there's a y square from the question, plus 5c3 in the calculator, and then negative 2 cubed. That also gives a negative value. So we'll get, after entering this in the calculator, we'll get negative 80 and y cubed. Then there is 5c4 negative 2 power 4. This will give you a positive value in the calculator. You'll get plus 80 y power 4. And lastly, it is 5c5 minus 2 power 5. That's going to be a negative value, negative 32 y power 5. So this is the expansion of 1 minus 2y whole square. So remember, when there's negative in between, a is going to be a negative value, and you'll have to write negative a, and the power will go in the bracket, and the negative will be inside the bracket. Keep that in mind. This is negative 2y bracket power something, negative 2y bracket power something, and so on. Do not miss that negative. So this is the basics of binomial expansion that you need to know. Let's take a look at the next practice question. By the way, this formula here, the expansion will be given to you in the formula sheet. Question number 2. Expand 3 minus 2x power 5 up to the term x squared. Now, they're not asking for a complete expansion. They're asking to expand till you get x squared. So no need to completely expand it. Okay, so let's apply the formula. Let me copy the formula for you again. So first term is 3. Let me just note that down. First term, which is a, is 3. The second term, which is b, is negative 2x in brackets, and n is 5. Okay, so in the formula, it starts with a power n. So 3 power 5 plus nc1. So 5c1, first term 3. Power would be the difference of 5 and 1, which is 4. Second term, which is negative 2x in the bracket, and its power is going to be the lower value of c, which is 1, plus, now this, notice, will not give us x squared. This will give us x. So we need to keep expanding. Then 5c2 is going to be the next term. 3 power 5 minus 2 is 3. Then negative 2x, its power is going to be 2. This will give us x squared. So you stop here, and you don't need to expand it any further. Just give me a second. Okay, now we enter all these values in the calculator and get all these terms. So the first term, 3 power 5, comes out to be 243. Next, you enter 5c1 times 3 power 4 times negative 2 power 1, or just negative 2 in the calculator. That gives you negative 810, and then you'll have to write an x next to it. Plus 5c2, 3 cubed, and negative 2 squared. Enter this in the calculator, and you get 1080 plus 1080, and then there's an x squared with it as well, x squared. Part A is done. Part B says, hence. Hence means you have to use the result of part A, that is this expansion. Find the coefficient of x squared in the expansion of this. Let's write this. Okay, part B. So we write x plus 5 And in place of 3 minus 2x power 5, I'm going to use the hence and write this instead. So it's 243 minus 810x plus 1080 x squared. There are more terms as well, but we did not need them, so I'm writing just dot 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 and closing the brackets. Okay. Now we need to find x squared after opening both these two brackets. So notice that you'll get x squared when you multiply this x with this negative 8, 10x. And also you'll get an x term, sorry, an x squared term when you multiply this 5 with this 1080x squared. No other way you can get an x squared term. So either you completely expand these two brackets, that's going to take a while, or you just intelligently look at it that which products are going to give you an x squared term and only multiply this. But if you find this confusing, you can completely expand it and then only choose the x squared. Okay. Then when we multiply, we're getting negative 8, 10 x squared for the blue part and positive 5400 x squared from the pink part. And when we add them together, we get 4590 x squared. So they only ask for the coefficient. So the final answer will be 4590 is the coefficient of x squared. Here's question number 3. And part A is the same as part A of question number 2. So I'm just writing the answer. This came out to be 243 minus 810x plus 1080 x squared. Let's take a look at part B. Given that the coefficient of x in the expansion of this is 28, find k. Okay, so I'm writing x minus k. And then I'm writing the expanded version of this, the first three terms. 243 minus 810x plus 1080 x squared, dot, dot, dot. There are more terms, but we don't need them. Okay. Now they're saying that the coefficient of x in the expansion of these two brackets is 28. Now let's see what multiplied by what in these two brackets will give us an x term. So if you multiply this x with 243, that's going to give you an x term. And if you multiply this k, negative k, with this negative 810x, that will also give you an x term. Other than that, you're not going to get an x term. You either will get a constant or an x cubed term or an x squared term. We need x terms. So we don't have to multiply the two brackets completely. Again, go ahead and do it if this is not making sense to you. Completely expand it and then only choose the two x terms that you get later. But for this is a quicker way of doing it. So multiply the pink terms, we get 243x. Multiply the blue terms, we get plus 810kx. Okay, add these two together, we get 243 plus 810k bracket x. And we're told that this coefficient of x is equals to 28. So only take the coefficient 243 plus 810k and equate it to 28. Rearrange, subtract, and then divide. You get minus 43 over 162. That is the answer for part B. Given that the first three terms in the expansion of this are this, and this, find the values of n, a, and b. So the first three terms in the expansion of this. So we're going to apply the binomial expansion formula and then compare it with these two values. So this is kind of a question of expand and compare both sides. So let's expand this. So the first term is going to be 2 power n. So let me just quickly say that A is 2 here, and B is A and X both, and N is just N. So 2 power N plus NC1, first term, which is 2, power subtraction of these terms, N minus 1. Second term is AX, power the lower value of C, plus NC2 is going to be the third term, 2 power N minus 2, and then AX squared. Okay. And now let's slightly simplify it. 2 power N is still 2 power N equals NC1. You need to know that NC1 is actually just N. Why do I say that? Check 5C1 in the calculator. You'll notice that you just get 5. Check 8C1 in the calculator. You'll get 8. Check 6C1 in the calculator. You'll just get 6. Similarly, NC1 is going to be just N. So plus N 2 power N minus 1 A times X plus NC2 2 power N minus 2 and then A squared X squared. Now equated to 32 minus 40X plus BX squared. Now we expand and compare. No, I mean we have expanded, now we compare. So the first term here is 2 power N, and or you can say the constant at the left hand side is 2 power N, and the constant here is 32. So then 2 power N must be equals to 32. And what power of 2 gives us 32? It is 5. So N must be equals to 5. Because if you write 5 here, only then you get 32. So N comes out to be 5. Okay, we have N. Now what can we do to find A? Okay. So for A, we compare or equate the coefficient of X on both sides. It is N times 2 power N minus 1 times A equals minus 40. Now we already know what N is, 5 times 2 power 4 times A equals minus 40. So 5 times 2 power 4 is 80. So we get A equals minus 40 by 80, and that's negative half. So A comes out to be negative half. So N was 5 and A is negative half. And now we will be equating the coefficients of X square on both sides. On one side, it's this. On the other side, it's just B. So that means that NC2 times 2 power N minus 2 times A squared should be equals to B. So N was 5, 5C2 times 2 power 5 minus 2 is 3, and then A was negative half squared. Enter this in your calculator carefully and you should get the value of B, which comes out to be 20. So B is 20. So we have the values of A, B, C. Question number 5 is expand 3 plus x power 5 up to the term x squared. So let's start. 3 plus x power 5. A is 3 here, B is x, and N is 5. So substitute all of these in the given formula of expansion. It's going to be 3 power 5 plus 5c1, 3 power, the difference of 5 and 1 is 4. And then x power 1. This is not x squared, so we'll have to expand more. 5c2, 3 power, difference of 5 and 2, 3, and x power 2. This is the x squared. So now we simplify these in the calculator. We get 243 here plus enter 5C1 times 3 power 4 in the calculator. That gives you 405x. And then plus enter 5C2 bracket 3 cube in the calculator and you get 270 x squared. And this is the expansion till x squared. So we only needed the first three terms of the expansion. Part B, hence, means that we have to use this expansion. Hence, find the coefficient of x squared in the expansion of this. Okay, now compare these two. What is the difference here? The only difference is that this x now becomes x plus x squared. The x in part A has become x plus x squared in part B. So the expansion is going to be the same. Just replace x with x plus x squared. We're going to do that. So 243 remains the same plus 405 bracket. Okay, they said give the coefficient of x squared. So we need to give the coefficient of x squared only. So that is going to be this multiplied with this only. And also we will have to slightly open the second one. It's going to be, the third one, 270. Let's expand this. It's going to be a squared plus 2ab. That's going to be x cubed plus b squared, which is going to be x power 4. So we also need this. So these two products will give us the x squared terms. So we're getting 405x squared plus 270x squared. Everything else can be discarded. Add, and we get 675x squared. But the question only asks for the coefficient. So 675 is the answer. Question number 6. Find the ninth term in the expansion of this. So they're only asking for the ninth term, not the rest of them. We know that the term starts from. So we know the first term is 2 power 15. That's going to be the first term plus 15C1. That's going to be the second term. Obviously, there are going to be more values here, but we don't need that. We need to go to the ninth term. So the third term is going to be 5C2 and 2 brackets here. That's the third term. So look, the second term gives you a 1 over here. The third term gives you a 2 over here. That means the ninth term is going to give you an 8 over here. So you just need 15C8. And now let's enter the everything else in the other two brackets. So A is 2 here, and the power is going to be the difference of 15 and 8. That is going to be 5, 6, 7. And then the second bracket is going to be, the second term is, or the B is minus 5x. Please do not forget the minus. Minus 5x, and the power is the lower term. Okay, so this should give 15C8. I have to enter this in the calculator. 15C8, 2 power 7, minus 5, brackets around that, power 8. So that gives us 3.2175 into 10 power 11. And also there's an x power 8. They did not only ask for the coefficient, but the entire ninth term. And that's this. In the expansion of this, find the coefficient of x power 6. Okay. So we only need x power 6, not each and every term. So let's see how the expansion goes. Okay, so the first term is going to be, okay, let's just write A, B, and C first. A is x, B is bracket negative 3 upon x squared. This is B. Okay. And N is 15. Okay. So for part A, let's start the expansion. It's going to be x power 15 plus the next term, the second term is going to be 15 C1, first term, which is x, power the difference, which is 14, and the second term, which is minus 3 upon x squared, power the lower value of c, which is 1. Okay. Now, is this the x power 6 term? We'll have to stop and check. Okay, so the numerator is going to be x power 14 and the denominator is going to be x squared. But that gives us x power 12. So no, it is not the x power 6 term. It's actually x power 12 term. Let me write it here as a reminder that this is the x power 12 term. Okay, plus next term would be 15c2 x power the difference, which is going to be 13, b, which is minus 3 upon x square, power the lower x term, which is 2. Now let's stop and check. The numerator will become x cube after expansion or simplification, and the denominator will be x power 4 because there's x square in the denominator and also a whole square on the bracket. So it's going to become x power 4. Does that give us x power 6 after simplification? No, it gives us x power 9. So this is x power 9 because this becomes x power 9. So no, that's not even the x power 6 term. So let's keep expanding. Next would be plus 15c3 x power difference, which is 12, b, which is minus 3 over x squared, power lower value, which is 3. And that gives us, let's check, numerator is x power 12 and denominator will be power 2 times power 3, which is power 6. I hope you remember indices from O levels. X squared power brackets 3 would become x power 6. So that's why the denominator is x power 6. And now the powers would get subtracted. So that gives us x power 6. So this is the term of interest. But we had to find all the other terms before that because we did not know which term is going to give us x power 6 in the end. So it's just say this term, so write it separately and find its values, or just highlight it like I did. And now let's find the coefficients, 15c3 and minus 3 cubed. Enter that in the calculator. 15, shift division sign, 3 times bracket open minus 3 bracket close power 3. I'm getting a big negative value. I'm getting negative 12285 x 6. So this, and they only ask for the coefficient. So you don't have to write x6 with the final answer. So in the end, I'm going to write negative 12285. That's it. Okay. There's also part B to it, unfortunately for you guys. Okay, part B is find the constant term here. Okay, how do we find the constant term? So we do not have any constant term yet. Constant term is when there's no x in with the value, with the coefficient. There should only be a number and no x. So this was definitely not the coefficient, the constant term, because this was x power 15. And then the next one was x power 12, next one was x power 9, then x power 6, and probably the next one is going to be x power q. And then after that, we're going to get the constant term. Let's quickly check. We need another two terms. So plus 15c4, x power difference is 11, minus 3 over x squared, lower value of c is 4. Now this would be x power 11 and x power 2 times 4 8 in the denominator. So x power 8, which gives x cubed. So this is the x cubed term. And the next term will most likely be the constant term. Let's check. Plus 15 C5 x power 10 minus 3 upon x squared power 5. So now we have x power 10 in the numerator and x power 2 times 5 is 10. Yes, now this is going to be the constant term because x power 10 and x power 10 cancels. So enter 5, 15 C5 minus 3 power 5 in the calculator. 15 C5 times minus 3 power 5 gives us a huge value. Yeah, I'm getting negative 729,729. This is the constant term of this question. Yeah, that would be all. Thank you for watching the introduction. See you in class.